Hello, everyone. My name is Jake. I am 26 years old. I come from Brazil, but just 5 months ago, my life was completely different. Back then, I could not speak a single full sentence in English. Not even a simple phrase like, "How are you?" Every time I tried to speak, my mind went blank. I had to think for a very long time just to say hello. I felt completely lost. I felt like I was stuck in a dark place. But today, everything is different. Today, I am speaking to you with confidence. I want to tell you how I changed my life. I learned English in just 5 months. I did not spend money on expensive classes. I did not travel to an English-speaking country, and I did not waste my time on boring, useless methods. But you see, this is not just my story. This is your story too. Have you ever felt frustrated because of your English? Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt embarrassed when you tried to speak? You want to say something, but the words just do not come out. You feel like everyone is judging you. You feel small. If you have ever felt this way, please keep watching. I know exactly how you feel, because I was right there in that exact same spot. I was hiding in the shadows, afraid to speak. But I promise you one thing. If you listen to my story, step by step, you will see the light. You will know exactly how to improve your English. You will find the path to speak clearly. You will get the tools to change your life. My journey did not start with a magic trick. It did not start with sudden motivation. It started with a massive failure. A failure that broke my heart, but also saved my life. Let me tell you about the moment that changed everything. I always wanted to work for a big international company. That was my ultimate dream. I wanted to be a software engineer in the United States. I loved coding. I spent my days and nights writing code. I worked very hard to become the best in my field. I was good at my job. In Brazil, everyone respected my technical skills. Then, after years of hard work, my big chance finally came. I applied for a job at a huge tech company in the US. A few days later, I received an email from the recruiter. It said, "Congratulations! You were selected for an interview." I was so happy. I jumped up and down in my room. I started imagining my new life. I thought about earning a big salary. I thought about moving to a beautiful city. I thought about working with the smartest people in the world. I felt like I was on top of the world. But then, the day of the interview arrived. I will never forget that day. It was a warm afternoon. I sat in front of my computer. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating very fast. I opened Zoom, and my screen turned on. There were 3 interviewers. All of them were native English speakers from America. They smiled and started speaking. But to my ears, their voices sounded incredibly fast. It felt like someone had pressed a fast-forward button on them. I could not understand the words. My mind started to panic. Then, the first interviewer asked me a question. He said, "Jake, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development. My heart dropped. I knew the answer. I knew exactly what to say in my head. I had all the technical knowledge, but when I opened my mouth, nothing came out. The words were stuck in my throat. I felt a cold sweat on my face. I tried to speak. I said, yes. I am, software. I do coding. Many projects. Good. I am very good. It was terrible. My voice was shaking. The interviewers looked at each other. They did not smile anymore. There was a long silence. That silence felt like a sharp knife in my stomach. It was the longest and most painful silence of my life. They tried to ask another question, but I was already completely lost. I could only shake my head and say, "Sorry, I cannot." Finally, one of them smiled gently and said, "All right, Jake. Thank you for your time." I closed the laptop. I sat there in the dark room. I knew what those words meant. I had failed. I did not fail because of my coding skills. I was a great software engineer. I failed because of my English. I could not speak. That day, I understood the real power of English. It was not just a school subject. It was the key to my dream. And at that moment, I did not have that key. I felt so ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I was angry at myself. For many years, I told myself a lie. I told myself, I do not need English. I will just be good at coding, and that is enough. But now, I saw the truth. Without English, I was invisible. That night, I cried. But then, I made a firm decision. I would learn English, and I would learn it fast. Part 1. The Broken System. Most people make a big mistake when they want to learn English. They do the exact same thing. They run to expensive schools. They pay a lot of hard-earned money. They buy heavy textbooks. I almost did the same. But then, I remembered my past. A year before that terrible Zoom interview, I spent a lot of money on a popular online English course. Every single week, I sat in front of my computer screen. The teacher was nice, but the method was dead. We had to memorize long lists of vocabulary. We did endless grammar exercises. We studied rules about the past, the present, and the future. I stared at those textbooks for hours. My eyes were tired. My head was hurting. It felt so boring. It felt like a heavy chore. But the worst part came later. After 3 months of hard study, I went to a local bakery. I wanted to order a simple coffee and a sweetbread. A tourist was standing behind me. He asked me a very simple question in English. I froze. My mind went blank. I knew the grammar rules. I knew the word lists, but my tongue would not move. I could not even ask for a cup of coffee. I felt so stupid. I felt like a failure. That was when I realized the truth. Traditional schools are completely broken. They do not teach you how to speak. They only teach you how to pass tests. They make you study like a robot. I did not want to be a robot. I wanted to be a real speaker. I needed a real system. a system that works in real life. I needed to build my own path. And that was when my real journey started. Lesson 1. The 15-day reset. I had to start over. I had to forget everything the school taught me, so for the first 15 days, I made a crazy decision. I decided to stop learning new words. Yes, you heard that right. No new words. Why? Because I realized something very important. The biggest mistake we make is thinking we need more words. We think we need a huge vocabulary to speak, but that is a lie. I already knew hundreds of English words. I knew colors, I knew animals, I knew basic verbs, but I could not use them. I was like a builder with 1,000 bricks, but no glue. I could not build a simple wall. So, for 15 days, I focused only on the words I already had. I wanted to make them active. I wanted to make them fast. Here is the exact plan I followed. First, I made a survival list. I sat down with a piece of paper. I asked myself, what do I actually say every single day? I did not write down academic words. I wrote down 50 simple sentences for real life. Sentences like, how's your day going? Or, can you say that again slowly? Or, I am sorry, I do not understand. And, I need a cup of coffee. Please. Simple sentences, practical sentences. Every morning, I read these 50 sentences. I did not just read them in my head. I read them out loud. Every morning, I stood up. Every morning, I held the paper. Every morning, I spoke those words to the walls. I did not do it once. I did not do it twice. I read the entire list 10 times, every single morning. At first, my tongue felt heavy. My mouth felt tired. It felt like my tongue was too big for my mouth. But after 5 days, something changed. The words started to feel lighter. After 10 days, they became automatic. I did not have to think. My mouth just knew what to do. Second, I started talking to myself. This was my secret weapon. Whenever I was alone, I became my own conversation partner. I narrated my life like a movie. When I was in the shower, I spoke. I said, I am taking a shower. The water is warm. I feel good. When I was making breakfast, I spoke. I said, I am cooking eggs. I like eggs. They're easy to make. I am hungry. When I was cleaning my room, I spoke. I said, I am picking up my clothes. The room is clean now. Every shower, I spoke. Every meal, I spoke. Every moment alone, I spoke. At first, I felt very silly. I felt foolish. I thought, if someone hears me, they will think I am crazy. But then, I realized something. This was my private world. There was no teacher here. There was no judgment here. No one could laugh at my mistakes. I was completely safe. In just 1 week, my brain started to shift. I stopped translating from Portuguese to English. I started thinking directly in English. Third, I practiced 5 sentences a day with a special twist. Every day, I chose 5 sentences from movies or YouTube videos. But I did not just read them. I copied them like an actor. I listened to the native speaker. Then, I repeated the sentence 10 times. I tried to match their speed. I tried to match their emotion. I tried to match their exact pronunciation. If the actor was angry, I spoke with anger. If the actor was happy, I spoke with joy. This was not about reading. This was about feeling. By the end of those 15 days, a miracle happened. The heavy wall in my head started to break. I was not fluent yet, but I was not afraid anymore. I could say basic things without hesitation. I felt a small spark of confidence. And that spark was about to become a fire. Lesson 2. The question expansion trick. After those first 15 days, I felt a real change. I was not so afraid anymore. My basic sentences were ready. But I knew this was not enough. I did not want to just say hello. I did not want to just say thank you. I wanted to have real conversations. I wanted to talk to people without stopping. I wanted to stop translating in my head. Every time I tried to speak, my brain felt slow. I knew the words, but I could not put them together quickly. It felt like a slow computer. I had to find a way to make it fast. I had to make speaking feel natural. So, I created a new method. I call it the question expansion trick. This method is very simple, but it has extreme power. It is the best way to train your brain to think fast. Here's how it works. First, you ask yourself a simple question. Second, you answer it immediately. You do not think too much. You just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Third, you repeat the question, but this time, you make the answer longer. You add one more detail. Let me give you a clear example. I started with an easy question. Question: what did you do today? At first, my answer was very short. I said, I worked. Then, I asked the question again. What did you do today? I forced myself to add more. I said, I worked on my computer. Then, I asked again. What did you do today? I made it longer. I said, I worked on my computer for 3 hours. Then, I asked again. What did you do today? I added more. I said, I worked on my computer for 3 hours, and then I took a break. Then, I asked one more time. What did you do today? I said, I worked on my computer for 3 hours. Then I took a break, and I drank some hot coffee. Do you see how this works? You start with 2 words. You end with a beautiful, long sentence. Every time you repeat, you add a new block. Every time you repeat, your brain works harder. Every time you repeat, you build a stronger bridge. Let me show you another example. Question: what did you eat for breakfast? First answer: I ate eggs. Second answer, I ate eggs and bread. Third answer, I ate eggs and bread because I was hungry. Fourth answer, I ate eggs and bread because I was hungry, and I drank some juice. Fifth answer, I ate eggs and bread because I was hungry, and I drank some juice at my kitchen table. I did this every single day. I sat in my room for 30 minutes. I asked, I answered, I expanded. You do not need a partner for this. You do not need a teacher to correct you. You only need your own voice. This simple trick changed my brain. It stopped the translation. It made my speaking speed incredibly fast. My sentences became long and natural. I was finally starting to speak like a real person. Lesson 3. The echo and the story. My speaking speed was getting faster, but I still had a big problem. My pronunciation was bad. I sounded like a complete foreigner. When I spoke, people had to listen very carefully. They often asked me to repeat my words. My accent was heavy and thick. It felt like a heavy weight on my tongue. I wanted to sound natural. I wanted to sound like a native speaker. But I did not have a teacher. I did not have money for accent coaching. So, I discovered a beautiful technique. I call it the echo technique. This is the ultimate way to fix your pronunciation by yourself. Here is how I did it every day. First, I found a short video or a podcast. It had to be a native speaker. Second, I listened to just one sentence. Third, I paused the audio. Fourth, I became an echo. I repeated the sentence immediately. But I did not just say the words. I copied everything. I copied the speed. I copied the high and low tones. I copied the emotion. If the speaker sounded surprised, I sounded surprised. If the speaker paused for a second, I paused for a second too. Let me tell you about a movie scene I used. A character was angry. He said, "I don't know what you were talking about." I paused the video. I stood up. I said, "I don't know what you were talking about." The first time, it sounded bad. My Brazilian accent was too strong. But I did not stop. I played the clip again. I paused. I repeated. I did this 10 times. On the 10th time, my voice sounded almost like the actor. My mouth was learning the music of English. I also used a simple podcast. The host said, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I paused. I echoed. "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I did this for 30 minutes every single afternoon. My tongue started to move differently. My muscles became stronger. After 1 month, my heavy accent started to melt away. But I also needed new words. I did not want to use boring lists. Lists are dead. They go into your brain and they fly out the next day. So, I used the story method. Every day, I picked 5 new words. I did not try to learn 50, just 5. Then, I wrote a very short story using all 5 words. For example, my 5 words were excited, invitation, party, arrive, and surprise. I did not write a long essay. I wrote a simple story. I was very excited because I received an invitation. It was for a big party. When I arrived, I got a huge surprise. It was my own birthday party. I read this short story out loud 10 times. This was magic. My brain did not have to memorize 5 separate words. My brain only had to remember one happy story. The words were connected. They had a home in my mind. By using this method, I learned more than 1,000 new words in a few months. And the best part? I never forgot them. They were ready to use whenever I wanted to speak. Lesson 4. Thinking like a native. Many people have a big problem. When they want to speak, they think in their home language first. Then, they translate the words into English. This makes speaking very slow. It makes you feel tired. It makes you look hesitant. Every time you try to speak, you pause. Every time you try to share, you struggle. I had this exact problem. My brain was working too hard. I had to stop the translation machine in my head. So, I started to train my brain to think directly in English. First, I described everything around me. When I walked down the street, I did not think in Portuguese. I looked at the sky and said, "The sky is blue." I looked at the road and said, "The cars are moving fast." I looked at a person and said, "That man is wearing a red shirt." I did this all day long. It was like a game. Second, I wrote a daily diary. Every single night, before I went to sleep, I opened a notebook. I wrote about my day. At the beginning, my sentences were very simple. I wrote, "I went to work. I ate bread. I was tired." But then, I wanted to write like a native speaker. So I started reading simple blogs. I looked at how they built their sentences. Then, I copied their style in my diary. Third, I learned grammar without opening a single school book. In school, they teach you rules. They make you memorize formulas. But in real life, people speak differently. I started to notice how native speakers structured their sentences. For example, I heard people say, "I have been learning English, but at school, I learned, I am learning English." I asked myself, why do they say that? I searched for the answer. I learned the difference by listening, not by memorizing. I also struggled with prepositions. Why do we say on the bus, but in the car? I kept a small notebook. I wrote down these strange rules with real examples. Fourth, I made a strict rule for myself. I had to use English for at least 2 hours every day. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to my dog. I talked to my mirror. I talked to my kitchen walls. If I was too busy, I spoke while washing the dishes. I spoke while cleaning the floor. If I felt lazy, I closed my eyes. I remembered my painful Zoom interview. I told myself, English is your future. You cannot stop now. Finally, I had to face my biggest fear. I had to talk to real people. I was terrified. What if they do not understand me? What if my mind goes blank again? So, I prepared 10 simple conversation topics. I practiced them alone. I practiced answering questions about my day, my job, and my favorite food. Then, I joined an online group. People from all over the world were there. My hands were shaking. My heart was beating fast. But I took a deep breath and I spoke. And you know what? They understood me. They did not laugh at my mistakes. They smiled and replied. That was the moment I realized mistakes are just steps to success. Part 2. The Second Chance. 5 months of daily grind had passed. 5 months of talking to my mirror. 5 months of repeating movie lines. 5 months of writing in my small diary. Then, the day of testing arrived. I wanted to see if my system actually worked. I wanted to know if I was ready. I joined an online conversation room. It was filled with people from different countries. They were talking about their lives. They were talking about their dreams. At first, the old fear returned. My heart started to beat fast. I felt a cold shadow of doubt. But I closed my eyes. I took a deep breath. I told myself, you are ready. So, I spoke. And something beautiful happened. The words did not get stuck. They did not hide in my throat. They flowed out of my mouth. They flowed like a clean river. I did not translate in my head. I did not think about boring grammar rules. I just spoke my mind. I could see the other people nodding. They understood me. They smiled at my words. They asked me questions. I answered them immediately. It felt like magic. But it was not magic. It was the result of 5 months of hard work. That was the day I knew I had achieved fluency. I finally had the key to my future. So, I decided to do something very brave. I applied for my dream job again. Yes, the exact same tech company in the United States. The same company that had rejected me. The same company that made me feel so invisible. The recruiter emailed me back. Another Zoom interview. But this time, I was not the same Jake. I did not feel afraid. I did not have shaking hands. I did not have cold sweat on my face. I opened my laptop. I logged into Zoom. There were 3 interviewers. They looked at me. They started to speak. This time, their voices did not sound fast. Their voices sounded slow and clear. I understood every single word they said. They asked me the same question. Jake, can you tell us about yourself? I smiled. I looked directly at the camera. I spoke with confidence. I spoke with power. I explained my coding. I explained my projects. I answered every question with ease. I did not hesitate. I did not say, or, I was not just speaking English. I was owning the language. I could see it in their eyes. They were impressed. They were not just impressed by my skills. They were impressed by my voice. They were impressed by my transformation. A few days later, my phone rang. I picked it up. My heart was pounding. The voice on the other side said, Jake, congratulations. You got the job. I stood completely still in my room. I could not breathe. My dream job. They wanted me. And my starting salary was $5,000 a month. $5,000. In Brazil, that was a fortune. It was more money than I had ever imagined earning. My hands started to shake. But this time, they shook with pure joy. Tears started to run down my face. The very first thing I did, I called my parents. I dialed the number. My mother answered. I said, "Mom, Dad, I did it. I got the job." There was a long silence on the phone. Then, I heard my mother crying. She was crying happy tears. She knew how hard I had worked. She knew the nights I stayed awake. Then, my father took the phone. My father is a very strong man. He rarely shows his emotions. He never cries. But his voice was shaking too. He simply said, "We always knew you could do it. Son, we are so proud of you." At that moment, my tears came faster. I realized something very important. I did not do this just for me. I did it for them. I did it to make them proud. I did it to give them a better life. When I received my first salary, I wanted to thank them. I went to a store. I bought my father a beautiful watch. It was a classic watch. He had always wanted a nice watch, but he never bought one for himself. He always saved his money to support me. For my mother, I bought a beautiful gold necklace. She had sacrificed so much for our family. She had worked so hard for us. I went to their house. I put the gifts on the table. They looked at the boxes. My mother shook her head. She said, "Oh, son, we do not need anything. Your success is our best gift." My father looked at the watch, but he did not touch it. He said, "You should keep your money, Jake." But I took their hands. I smiled at them. I said, "No, please. This is my way of saying thank you. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for standing by me, even when I did not believe in myself." My mother put on the necklace. She looked in the mirror. She was crying again. My father put the watch on his wrist. He looked at it for a very long time. Then, he looked up at me, and he smiled. It was the warmest smile I had ever seen. In that exact moment, I knew every struggle was worth it. Every late night was worth it. Every moment of frustration was worth it. Every time I felt like giving up, it was all worth it. Lesson 5. The 7 Rules of Fluency. Now, it is your turn. I want to give you my secret map. These are the 7 golden rules that changed my life. They will change your life too, if you follow them every day. Rule number 1. Mindset is everything. Most people fail because they believe they cannot do it. They say, "I am too old." They say, "English is too hard for me." Stop saying those words. Every time you say, "I cannot," you build a wall. Start saying, "I'm getting better. Every single day, I am growing." Your mind believes the words you say. If you think you can, you will find a way. Rule number 2. Surround yourself with English. You do not need to buy a ticket to America. You just need to change your world. Change your phone language to English. Watch videos only in English. Listen to English songs. When you see a car, say, "That is a fast car." When you see a tree, say, "That is a big tree." Make English your shadow. Let it follow you everywhere. Feed your brain with English all day long. Rule number 3. Speak without fear. Mistakes are not bad. Mistakes are your friends. They show that you are trying. Native speakers do not care about your grammar mistakes. They only want to connect with you. They appreciate your effort. So, speak. Speak to shopkeepers. Speak to strangers. Speak to yourself. The more mistakes you make, the faster you learn. Rule number 4. Active listening and shadowing. Do not just listen like a sleepy person. Listen with active ears. When you hear a native speaker, try to be their echo. Repeat the words immediately. Copy their voice. Copy their speed. Copy their feelings. This will train your tongue. This will make your English sound natural. Do this for 20 minutes every day. Rule number 5. Learn words in context. Stop memorizing long lists of words. Word lists are useless. They are dead. Instead, learn phrases. Do not just learn the word happy. Learn the phrase, "I feel so happy today." Do not just learn the word coffee. Learn, "I need a cup of hot coffee." This is how native speakers talk. Phrases are easy to remember. Rule number 6. Grammar without books. You do not need to study heavy grammar books. You do not need to memorize boring formulas. Learn grammar naturally by listening. When you make a mistake, do not cry. Just fix it next time. If you hear someone say, "He goes to school," remember it. Use it. That is how children learn. They do not read grammar books. They just listen and copy. Rule number 7. Consistency over perfection. This is the most important rule of all. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Do something in English every single day. Some days you will have 1 hour. Some days you will only have 10 minutes. That is okay. But never skip a day. Even on days when you feel tired, read one sentence. Listen to one song. Consistency is the key that opens every door. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You are speaking English smoothly. You are speaking with a big smile. You feel so proud. Think about the amazing jobs you can get. Think about the new friends you can make. This is not just a dream. This can be your real life. If a normal guy like me can do it, you can do it too. It does not matter where you start today. It does not matter if your English is bad right now. The only thing that matters is that you start. You must start today. You must start right now. I know it is hard. I know it feels impossible sometimes. But remember this, the pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts forever. Every single day, you have a choice. You can choose to make excuses, or you can choose to make progress. Choose your future. Choose your dreams. Choose to practice today. Your journey to fluency starts this very second. If my story touched your heart, please like this video. Subscribe to my channel for more support. I will be right here with you every step of the way. Let us do this together.